Okay.
All right. So
Um,
that brings us to medic. We're
that
gonna
does
have to do
bring
this a
us to
little bit
medic.
more off the cuff.
Yep. So, the individual that was going to be doing this class is not here, oddly enough, for medical reasons. So, we are going to do our best to go through this ourselves. We do have some experience
Mm-hmm.
between each other and things that we have done or experienced. So, we're going to do the same sort of, again, hello, welcome for anyone that has joined us for this or is watching in the future. We are now going to cover Metacrat. So here we go. We're going to be doing the breakdown of the bid, the pre-event work, the event, and the post-event. So let's just get right into the bid itself. The things you're going to want on the bid is your name. You're going to want to state that you are the Metacrat. If you know of any specific individuals that will be on your team, you also want to list them there. Though
Mm-hmm.
you might have to figure that out at a later date, but worst comes to worst, you as the Metacrat, you should be on the bid.
Yeah.
Also, any like first aid kits, medical things, if the park does not have them, some parks do have full med kits themselves that you may not need to purchase more or additional things. But if you do, this would go on the bid. It's not a lot that goes on the bid for medic. Is there anything else you can think of that goes on the bid?
Your staff size. How many people do you expect to have? I recommend about a 1 to 20 ratio.
Mm.
Um, and if you have a more distributed event, if there's like Bot D where there's a lot more surface area to cover, where people are going to be here, there, and everywhere, you might want a higher ratio than that. If you got 25 people at an event, one medic should probably be able to keep an eye on it if everybody's in the same area. Maybe two, just in case the medic's the one that gets hurt. Sorry.
Yep.
But maybe just make a note of that in your bid, just so people have an idea. And if you have any park supplies that you need, like waste pouches or anything like that, just put a note on the bid, and I need a box of Band-Aids, I need whatever. Just so that it's always easier to not use your budget than to need to ask for more money.
Yeah, that's it really. It's gonna be important that you have um, it accounted for if you need it. But again, right? It's if you don't use it, no harm, no foul, right?
Hmm. And don't forget, this is one of the offices where if you are going to make a mistake in over budgeting, this is the office you want to over budget in,
Yeah.
because it's better to have the band-aids and not need them than need them and not have them.
Yes. Yes.
That
For
this is
sure.
the terrible moment. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Also, if it isn't already on there from the autocrat list, some sort of marker, some sort of thing showing that you are the Metacrat. Any sort of thing for your team that are going to be filling in for medic positions. You want to have clear identifiers, right? Whether that is
mhm.
giant butt flags or belt favors or headbands, armbands, tabards, right? Just some sort of visual marker that really makes it clear who those individuals are.
Yeah, the bright yellow security vests or something to uh, when an emergency happens, someone's going to go running around looking for a medic. And if you don't make them super noticeable, people are in a panic. They're going to run straight past the medic looking for the medic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to make sure they're visible. Whatever you can do to make them more visible, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Don't put them in clown suits, though. Your medics might resent that. It'll make them
uh,
noticeable, but
I mean, not wrong. Not wrong. Big bright nose,
okay. So
curly wig. Yeah.
Yeah, so check in with the park supplies, and I think that check in with the park supplies and budget for what you need. Uh, just taking a quick rundown of what you might want to think about is your large and small med kits. Because not everyone has to carry all of the triangular bandages, all of the tensor bandages, all of the sunburn aloe cream and everything else. They just need enough to, if they're at an emergency, they need some gauze, they need some gloves, they need some, and they can have a little tiny portable case, and then you have the big case back at the med tent. Make sure
Also,
that they have.
med
Sorry.
tent. Also, med tent.
Yes.
You're gonna want some sort of location thing, some hub, particularly something that is shade, right? Even if you've got like a little pavilion thing, right? You can. There's so many individuals that have items like this. You can ask around and see if somebody's willing to allow it to be used. But if not, you might want to consider getting one of those for your park. You're going to use it for every event. You're going to use it for random things here and there. You might use it for demos and regular field days, depending on where your field is, if you don't have solid shade and stuff like that. So it might be something you want to consider.
Heat stroke's a thing. Also, it's a really comfy place for the medics to hang out. Hey, look, really noticeable place. No, telling people where that is a very important thing to do too. Go see our Crat video. Flagging tape, glow sticks, flashlights, and radios. As medics, you might be called upon to go find somebody who got lost during the night quest. Flagging tape will help you cordon off areas. It will help you know where you've looked before, and also to help prevent you from getting lost. You can tie it off on trees and other things. Glow sticks. Glow sticks are wonderful in the dark. It helps you find people. It helps you find things. It helps people find you. Never underestimate the power of a good glow stick. Flashlights. If you're in the dark and you don't know what to use the flashlight for, I'm not sure I can help you. Radios. Always good to communicate with your staff and your people and everyone else. Your park might have all of this stuff kicking around. If not, some members of your park might have event running kits. And we might just happen to have it kicking around as well, and we don't intend to use it for the event. But if you ask, we may be able to loan it to you. So definitely look into that. Because I think a dining tent goes for what, 200 now, 300?
Yeah, they can be pretty pricey.
Yeah, so a lot cheaper to ask to borrow one than to buy a new one.
Or even rent, right? You might have an individual that's just like, hey, throw me $20 and you can rent it for the weekend.
Actually, that pavilion tent somebody got for one of the bot Ds. It was a nice, huge one. We had a whole buffet in there.
It might be Tyler's, actually. Tyler, if you're watching.
I think it was about $200 for a 4-day weekend with that thing. It was just beautiful. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so make sure you ask around your park. You might have the stuff. If you don't have the stuff, that's part of the budget. Make sure that you get that onto the pre-bid so that the people writing the bid know to ask for that money, just in case you still need it and you can't find it, the stuff by the day.
Also, if you do want to have a big purchase like that, you can also consider doing some sort of fundraising effort too. To help mitigate that cost, right? Just be like, this is something that will help us for every single event. This is a good thing for our park to have just in general, and it means that every single time we run this event, we won't need to be purchasing it in the future, right? Any large purchases like that, you can always consider, right? Depending on the size of your park, right? Some parks are so financially set that that won't put a dent in anything, so it's dependent.
Another thing for the bid writing, make sure that you have emergency planning. Talk to your Cytocrat, talk to your Autocrat, talk to your Securocrat, and you can go back and see those videos as well. We go into a lot more detail, but you want to be ready for expulsions when you have to remove somebody from the event. Evacuations, this is more your bailiwick. You're going to be interested in when somebody is injured. What do you do with them? How do you get them to a hospital, a ambulance accessible location? Most sites will have ambulatory access right at the heart of them. Bot D, if you go down in hut base, you really want those staff to have a plan as to how to get you out. So make sure if you're the person running the event, you have that plan.
I've
I
been
know it's happened.
evacuated from that before. So, can confirm. Super important to have that plan and for everyone to know what it is, how it works, and to keep a level head during those moments.
The calmer you are in an emergency, the calmer everyone around you is going to be. Being prepared helps you maintain that facade, and I call it a facade because when somebody is injured, they're semi-conscious or they're really badly banged up. On the outside, you might have that ability to take a breath and go, all right, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to get this, and we're going to do that, and everything will be fine. On the inside, you're pulling your hair out going, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I have no idea. But everyone will respond and go, okay, there's a plan. Somebody knows what they're talking about, and they'll be calm. And if you think it's hard with just that little voice on the inside doing that, think about 20 voices around you now doing that.
It's true.
Having that plan will keep you calm, and if you stay calm, they stay calm. And the job gets 20 times easier. So definitely make sure that you have that plan written up. Definitely make sure that it's in your bid or your monarch, whoever is voting on the bids, is aware that you do have these plans in place, that there is some sort of forethought that went into that. I think that covers bid writing.
Bid.
I think we're done.
Yep.
Can you think of anything else for the written bid?
Not for the bid, no. So I think at this point we can move on to the pre-event work.
Pre-event.
A lot
Sorry,
of
I'm looking at all my.
Yeah, no, you're all. The majority of this position is going to be live in person at the event, so there isn't terribly much to do prior.
You're going to be working closely with security too, and a lot of the procedures you're going to be following mirror theirs.
So having a meeting with them pre-event would be really good. Also, in pre-event, right, this is the point where if you don't have a team, right, you are going to get your team at this point, right? You're going to want to make sure that that individuals are they've got their certifications, right? And that they're up to date, right? This might be one of those things where you've got a bunch of individuals that are willing to do it and are knowledgeable, but their things are expired, right? And be like, okay, the event is on this date, you have this many days to get, certified before the event date, and right during this time, this is the time that you can get those taken care of. So those can be a possible thing that you would do with your pre-event time.
Team meetings to touch base with the people that you're going to be working with is also super important. Not just with security, but when you're talking to the secure Crat, and you can also talk about sharing of staff. Anyone who's doing security can also do medic. There is the risk that there will be a medical problem and a security problem at the same time. Try to make sure that there's at least 2 people that are medic and security, and they're on at the same time. I think we covered this in the security section.
Yeah.
Because of some of the laws and regulations that have come in, people shouldn't be walking around alone. It takes nothing for somebody to be accused of something nowadays, and that's a huge problem.
I think the big thing too is right. You have that one individual that is dealing with the person that is having the medical emergency, right? So that's essentially what your version of a first responder is, and then having the secondary individual to either be able to get in communication with others, cordon off the area,
CC,
right? Yeah, right. You're gonna make sure that they're gonna be the Yep, no, it's good. Just go ahead. Don't, try not to crowd the area, right? Like, for those that are having medical situations, which, I mean, we can go further into the actual on the event time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to want a crowd of 20 people going like, oh, what just happened? Oh, you alright? Like, 20 people around somebody when they're having a medical emergency is going to be a disaster. So being able to, have that meeting with, your security staff, with your med staff, to have a procedures and rules, regulations, whatever you want to stipulate, so everyone's on the same page, right? So it's like, okay, if this scenario happens, this is how we're going to deal with it, right? You're probably the best one to deal with this type of situation. You might be the best one for that. We need to make sure that, this, that, and the other thing, the steps of the procedures that we're going to take, and who's going to be in the best situation to do those things, and how to communicate, where, home base is, be able to have those plans and have, that team meeting is going to be crucial, really, really crucial. And especially, right, again, having the different crats being able to, like, right, having your autocrat, your metacrat, and your security crat be able to have a meeting between them and hash out things and make sure that everyone's on the same page. Because particularly when dealing with medical emergencies, evacuations, things like that, right, it's going to be a complete and utter disaster if everyone is doing something completely different and everyone has a different idea of what they should be doing versus what is happening, right? So
planning.
Yep.
In that planning, just while we're talking about people doubling as medics and security, it can be done. Is it recommendable? Well, in smaller events, it's all right. In larger events, it's okay if you have more than one person on that shift, to make sure that there's the availability to have someone do crowd control while someone's doing the first aid. And that way you wind up having interchangeable skills, because somebody might be really good in one situation and the other one's not, versus having one set medic and one set security stay up all night. Now they both have an overview of each other's jobs, and they can help each other if there's a security problem. They can help each other if there's a medical problem, and they can separate off to deal with a medical problem and a security problem at the same time. But no matter what, if you are a medic and not security, if people are poking their nose in your business, you are the one who is taking on the liability of being the medic at the event. Doesn't matter if someone's a doctor in their day-to-day at the hospital. They're not at the hospital right now. To say anything would be practicing medicine outside of the hospital, and they can lose their license for that. Doctors, nurses, orderlies, anyone working in a hospital can only practice medicine in those settings. They did not sign waivers. They have not been tasked by the board indirectly through the autocrat to do the job. Anything they do, they are directly liable for, and you as the medic can tell them, goodbye, you're being thrown off site now, as of now. Because it might sound silly if somebody's got a scraped knee, but if it's not treated properly, that can lead to infection and gangrene. You as the medic, you are making those calls, and you are the one who has to deal with those calls and the repercussions of that. Them sticking their nose in just compounds the problem. You do have the authority to remove people from site, if need be. Run it through the Securocrat, though, as best you can, because they're going to want to keep a record of this, too. But because it's health and safety, the health and safety of players is paramount. You can have a bad weekend and come back and play Amp-Guard next week. If you have a medical incident at Amp-Guard, you might not be here to come back and play next week. So, one's more important than the other. I just wanted to mention that yeah.
I would also
Super
say, this is where we get into the we're not trying to scare you moment. But be prepared. Keeps happening, every single one of these. So it's going to also be very important that your med team understands what can happen, right? The level of severity that is possible, right? If you have somebody that's signed up and they're just expecting, oh, the worst thing I'm going to see is dehydration and a scraped knee, and all of a sudden you have somebody break their leg and the bone is sticking out, right? If you have somebody that has a heart attack and you're not able to resuscitate them, get them to the hospital in time, right? There are so many things that can happen. It's important that they know what they're signing up for and they can mentally and physically handle the situation that they're being put into, right? It's don't want to scare you, but you want to be prepared. Don't sign up for something that you can't handle and something that you're not willing to do, or taking on the liability either, right? There's it's a lot of legal stuff as well, right? So it's going to be very important that your entire team knows the risks, knows what they're signing up for, and are as prepared as they can be for
Yeah.
hope for the best, plan for the worst.
I think now my last first aid certificate expired like 10 years ago, and I believe at the time St. John's the first part of the course, the first stage, talks about this, is that when you're getting your first aid, when you're offering to do this, you're realizing what you're signing up for, and that's being informed. That's being part of. It's just part of the job. You need to know what you're going into, and if you're not ready to deal with things that come up, like if you're squeamish around blood, you probably shouldn't be a first aider. If you are, if you don't have, I don't want to say you don't have the emotional fortitude, but you're not
if you panic
emotionally
under
prepared.
pressure.
Yeah, you have to realize that in some emergencies there will be life and death decisions that you might have to make. Working with cadet corps, I have dealt with cadets being lost in the snow during a biathlon practice. We had to go looking for them. They almost had to spend the night outside. We've had people fall off cliffs and they needed to be evacuated. These are things that I knew these people personally, I knew their families, and you see people in a pretty banged up state, it sticks with you. And I don't mean this is like, oh my god, you know, Dark Lord Darian has some horrible stories. But it is... I know I do. But it is something that it sticks with me to this day, that I can remember what it was. Not like I close my eyes and I see it every night, but it is something that you have to be ready for because you are signing up for it. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone falling off a cliff at Bot D in the entire length of the event. Okay, I was going to say the rest of the Nine Blades is pretty safe, but apparently I'm wrong.
Nope, not our kingdom. The incident that happened was not our...
All right.
We're clear.
So, one incident in about 40 years of Amp Guard, somewhere in North America. Those are the odds. But you do have to be ready that you will see things like, if you're doing first aid, you might see blood, you might see pus, you might see blown stitches, you might see infections. That's kind of par for the course. You might have to pull a stick out of someone's hand because they slipped and fell, and if that kind of stuff sounds gross to you, probably is not the office for you.
Yeah,
and it's okay to say
all of the job.
Yeah, it is okay to say that you're not comfortable doing one job in running an event. You don't have to do every single job in event running to achieve the knighthood or to be a helpful and useful member of your park or the Nine Blades or whatever kingdom you're part of or park you're part of. You can perfectly, without dealing with blood and all the other fun stuff, help out at events. But just be ready, because that's what you're signing on for. In a worst case scenario. I haven't heard of anyone having a heart attack at an event yet, though. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, also, right, you also want to go over the classics, right? Like, this is going to happen. Someone will have an asthma attack. Somebody will have an allergic reaction. Somebody's
gonna drink too much.
Someone's gonna drink too much. Dehydration, heat stroke, ticks in some locations, sometimes of years, right? Tweezers, have those tweezers. Like, those are
Spider
like the
bites.
spider bites. Oh
Bug
gosh,
bites.
cuts, scrapes, bruises, concussions. Yeah. Concussions are big.
Yeah.
Sprains. These are like this is going to happen at some point, right? The bigger the event, the more people, this will happen. One of these things will happen. At least one. It's one of those, be prepared for these, because this is the most common thing, right? If you're doing a specific thing where, like, trying to think of, like, some, like, outside thing, like, if you're doing a sport where it's just, like, this is the type of action that is happening, this is the type of medical thing that you're going to have to deal with that is very specific to that thing. We have that. So, right, we're going to be outside, we're going to deal with, temperature stuff, we're going to deal with weather stuff, we're going to deal with exertion stuff, we're going to, right, for events that aren't dry events, you're going to deal with alcohol and things of that nature. Like, that's, what's going to happen, because those are the scenario environment that you're in. So it's good to have those specific things, like, super prepped.
Yeah. Okay. Horror stories aside, I think that's mostly pre-event. Make sure your people are up to date on their certificates if you need them. Familiarize yourself with the authorities that you have to remove people from site or attend to injuries. Oh, looking at my security notes. Differences between Canadian versus American law.
Oh, yeah.
If you are working with a cross-border event or you're attending an event in another country, or you have staff coming in from another country, make sure they are up to snuff on the country's law in which they'll be staff.
Yep.
The last thing you want to do is do what's legal in Canada and illegal in the US. We can probably do a whole episode on that.
True.
Coming up. No. If we do an episode like that, we'll also do with Fahrenheit, Celsius conversions, and all of that. So, but I don't think that's happening. Okay, so, and that's about it. Pre-event. Can you think of anything else?
Event day! Woo! We're there!
Yay!
Now what?
Record keeping. Bumps, scrapes, and bruises can become infected afterwards, and somebody might come back and try to bill our insurance saying we didn't do anything about it. If your medics so much as pull out the polysporin and a Band-Aid, notes. Who, what, where, when, how. Because the board's going to need that information to go, Susie scraped her knee, this is the treatment that was given the severity of it, we've got a brief description of the injury, and everything seems above board. If it has to go to court, if it has to go to the insurance company, those notes are going to matter. Make sure that they're taken and make sure that they're kept. I do
Again,
actually have
not
a
trying to scare
report.
you, but be prepared.
I was just talking about a scraped knee. Yeah. I do actually have report forms. Once again, if anyone wants them
Scrape
from me,
knee,
by all means,
go to
PM
court.
me.
Yeah, just
PM me. I do have record keeping forms, short ones and large form, long form style that you can actually. All the questions are there. Just write it down and you move on. Nothing big, nothing fancy. Communication, because we haven't said that word enough in this series. Start of each day, talk
yeah.
to your
We usually
teams.
talk about this far more.
Talk to your teams at the start of each day. Have a meeting. Talk to whoever you had on the overnight. See what the issues they had, if any. The plan for the day. Using BotD as an example of an overnight camping event. Each day you're going to see different activity in different areas, and you're going to want to prioritize where the medics are for those times. You don't want all of your medics on the ditch field while everyone is off at the bases doing CTF.
Oof. Yeah.
And vice versa. All of your medics hanging out in hut base having a beer while everyone's on the ditch field doing company battle. The probability of injuries is not where your medics are. That's going to be a problem. So have the meeting, figure out where you want people, and communicate.
Yeah. Also have the schedule already laid out shift wise, so everyone knows who's on call at what times, right? So that if in case of emergency, right, and especially like for overnight things, it's 3:00 in the morning, something's gone down, security Crat's looking for a medic. Who's on call, right? Because somebody's gonna have to be on call at 3:00 in the morning. So knowing who that is, and if you are signed up for that, like being able to physically do that, stay awake at those points, right? There's some of us that are like extreme night owls and we can do that kind of thing, but some folks are not. So, right, having, making sure that the individuals that are signing up for those times can perform at those times, and making sure that it is clear who is signed up for those times. And you can even have that also posted at either the Medic 10 or Troll, right? Your hubs. Having all that information accessible, knowing, or again, the communication, knowing who's on call at what times, who you're turning to, and having that open communication between teams. So, yeah, like your security team and your medic teams can be pretty tight.
Also, don't be afraid to pop by Troll and see how many people have signed in. I've seen events where we expected 25 people that ballooned up to 75 because 3 weeks beforehand, I found out I was the Principality event. Yay me.
No pressure.
This means you have to staff up. On that event, I had several of my Crats bow. Well, I won't say several. I had a few of my Crats bow out, and my staff just like dropped as I'm finding out my attendance is doing this. Not fun. But as the Metacrat, you're going to want to take a look at that and say, well, I wanted about 1 to 20 ratio. I went from 25 people, so I could have done it by myself. Now I'm close to 80. Maybe I want 3 people to help and put out that general call.
See who's certified, right? There are a bunch of nurses and doctors also, right? Like, you can talk with them knowing that they're certified to see if they are willing to join the team, right? Again,
yeah,
they should not be doing things if they're not on the team, but they can be good resources for being team members.
Yeah. I had something and it just walked away on me.
I can give a little thing. Just random protocol sort of stuff. Sorry, my TENS unit is just had to reset. I have electrodes on my back. Important things to know how to deal with in situations, right? For when you are going to be dealing with medical emergencies and things like this, and the sort of stuff that for you yourself, good things to know. and also for those attending, those that have medical needs and accessibility issues, making sure that the Medicrat knows of your medical conditions, knows where your meds are, what your med list is, have where your identification is, right? In a case where you are going to send somebody to the hospital, if they are unconscious, it will waylay things if they do not have identification, if you don't know what medications they have taken during the day, if you don't know, even their blood type can be a huge issue, any allergies to medications, their emergency contact information. Like, there's a lot, and those sorts of things when they're individuals with pre-existing conditions. Pro tip, having, like, a belt pouch that has those items in it can be literal lifesavers. I know that's, as somebody with pre-existing conditions, I always have all of that there. I also make it known to the Medicrat that I have something, and that all that information is on my person at all times, and just go through with them what helps you most in situations, what's really bad for you, right? To not panic in certain situations. Some individuals have chronic conditions and things like that. You're not always going to send somebody to the emergency room. That's not always your go-to thing. So it's important to know not to panic, right? It's important to know what is going to be most helpful for the individual at the time. Some tips and tricks. When somebody is in medical distress, psychologically speaking, something that helps is to keep them distracted, keep them talking, right? That way also you can make sure that they're keeping conscious. You can make sure that dealing things with, like, shock and stuff like that. Also, somebody going into mental distress, well, and physical distress is only going to compound the problem. So being able to make sure that they're calm and distracted is really, really going to help the situation. And it's going to help you and your team and the individual having the issue, everyone being able to get out of there and get the help they need, and keeping a level head in the best case scenario, if things are being calm, right? And again, mentioning you don't want the rubberneckers, right? Folks just circling around. When somebody's having a medical emergency, it can be very embarrassing. It can be very personal. Having an audience to that is horrible. From experience, it is horrible. You want them to be comfortable and calm, and because they're going through a really bad situation. You don't want it compounded by a bunch of people asking questions that, like, isn't going to help, right? Oh, are you in pain? Like, we're dealing with it. You don't have to, like, is this something you want? Do you want to, like, talk to? Okay, we've already discussed this, right? Like, don't just, like, shower them with questions, right? Like, having just a bunch of people come and ask the same thing. Right?
It's not helpful. If you're not actively involved in resolving the situation, you probably shouldn't be around it. If you're waiting to help out, if let's say I trip and break my ankle, if you're waiting for the stretcher to help carry me off of the site, then by all means be around. But if you're not waiting to be helpful or actively being part of the resolution of the problem, you should probably be back at least 20 feet. Just as a rule of thumb.
Yeah, you don't want to crowd the area. You don't want to prevent other medical staff from, getting clear access to the individual. If there's first responders on their way, right, making sure that there isn't a crowd of people they have to, like, try to get through to get to the individual, right? You want that to be clear, open, and getting all the information, right? You can also be getting all of the information during this time so that you can just go, here, paramedics, right? And they don't have to go through all of that again, right? Collecting all that information, right? All this stuff already discussed. have you taken anything? Are you allergic to anything? What is your blood type? If, right, you're going to have any sort of thing like that. A lot of times that's not going to come into play, but just in case.
That actually made me think of what I was originally thinking of.
Contact, yeah.
You had mentioned the contacts and the emergency contacts. When you are a medic, or when you're the Medicrat, you want to make sure your medics are aware of where is all of the emergency contact information for the players. That's going to be on the waivers. That's going to be with Troll, and if it's not with Troll, where is it being stored? Make sure that all of them are aware of exactly where that is. If it's a big box that says player waivers in the med tent, they know that. If it's being stored with Troll, they know that. If it's locked up in the Autocrat's tent, make sure they know that. Because that's going to be invaluable to the medics when they arrive. The other thing is that know the emergency contact information for the site. Make sure that your medics know that.
The address.
If they don't know where to tell the ambulance to go to, guess who's not showing up? If you can write it down on a card, because once again, when panic sets in, you don't know how much you are going to remember. You don't know how much you're going to be upstairs anymore, and how much you're just going to be flying on instinct. And if you know, adrenaline. I read the card, and that's all I have to remember is read the card.
Yep.
There's fewer things to screw up. Exactly like going back to the quest class. If I know I have to tell you to go find Brian, I'm good. If I'm trying to remember a whole script, guess what you're not finding out? Go find Brian. So, KISS. Keep it simple. Family friendly. I'm not finishing that.
Silly.
So,
keep it simple, silly.
Yes. Make sure that your medics have access to this information, that they know where it is. The medical information on the waiver, this is directed at anyone who's a player or going to be at an event, or as a medic that you're going to have to inform people at the event, or Troll. If they don't put it down that they're allergic to bee stings and they start swelling up on us and we have no idea why, we can't help you as well. Medics, when that waiver is signed, yes, it is a confidential piece of paper. Yes, the information can only be shared on a need-to-know basis. Medics need to know. If they don't know what you're allergic to, they don't know what to do. If you come to me and you are swollen up, I don't know if it's from a bee sting, if it's because you were exposed to marijuana smoke, if it's because you're in the middle of anaphylaxis because you ate something. I don't know how to help you. But if I know where your records are, I can at least glance at it while I'm calling the paramedics, and they can bring the correct stuff.
Yep. Also, with that information that you have, right, do not disclose that information to others, right? When there is a medical emergency or a situation, if you know personal medical information about another individual, you do not share that information with others. You don't just be like, yeah, so they have diabetes, right? Like, you don't do that, right? It is a trust thing, and it is a legal thing. When you have that information, it is a need-to-know basis, and that should not be just randomly shared and spread amongst others.
Yeah. It's not really, if someone's not a medic, they don't need to know. You shouldn't be going around to your buddies at your campsite who aren't staff at the event going, so Darian's allergic to pineapples. Now we know how to get him. That's an abuse of power. That's an abusive situation, and that is a bannable offense. So, don't. Sharing people's medical history actually is a criminal offense.
Yes.
Too. So, you need to know, and out of that need, you have access. Be discreet in your access and only use what you need. Because if you violate too many people...
No, go ahead.
Sorry?
Finish. No, please.
Even if you don't get charged, even if you don't get disciplined, the more people you do that to, the fewer people will come to the game because they're not safe here. which means you shrink the size of our total population as a group. That's smaller events. That's less fun. That's less money that's coming in. That's less stuff we can do. So
something just adding on to that. For those that do have medical conditions, it's hard to talk about. It's hard to trust somebody with something so very intimate. If you are not trustworthy with that information, they're not going to tell you things. And you not having that information can make a life-threatening situation or a medical emergency. So basically, the more you're able to be trusted with that information, and the more you are discreet with it, the more likelihood that somebody is going to be willing to be open with you, right? And especially open in the future, right? If you don't know the full situation, and let's say I watch Darian tell somebody about someone else's pineapple thing, and maybe even just like start joking and making fun of them or something. Darian, right? Not that he would. Then they're gonna go, oh, I'm not gonna tell that person about my medical stuff. I don't want Joe Bob over there making fun of my stuff, so I'm not gonna tell them. And all of a sudden, I'm in a situation and I didn't tell Joe Bob, and now I'm passed out and they don't know my medical information, and all of a sudden I'm now in a terrible situation because I didn't feel comfortable trusting Joe Bob. We're gonna go with Joe Bob.
Joe Bob.
Joe Bob. Darn it, Joe Bob. Every time. Don't let Joe Bob be Crat.
What about Joseph Robert? Is he good?
Oh yeah, no, he's fine. He's a solid guy.
All right, so to any Joseph Roberts out there,
we are
sorry.
joking. To be clear.
So yeah, be discreet. Your discretion brings trust. Trust brings players to the game. Sorry, we keep going into the horror stories. Like,
We've seen some stuff, man.
For the event day, I can't really think of much else offhand that you can truly prep for. A lot of this is going to be you are reacting more than you are proactive. Mm. You have the people out there, they have the equipment they need to deal with it, and we just hope they never need to use it.
Again, you hope,
but we know we're going to be wrong. Yeah. After the event is over, though, actually, shout out to everyone out there that's still watching. Is there any questions, comments, concerns about the event day before we mosey on to the post-event?
Again, we have 20-second delay. If you have any questions, again, right, you have the options of Twitch chat or the Nine Blades Discord chat. We are monitoring both, so by all means, if you're still here, I can see that we have 6 viewers. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for sticking in there with us. We're getting near the end, so if you got anything, let us know, and we will answer those for you.
Coming up on 16 hours of this class, or is it 18? I forget.
We had already previously done 18 hours. I think this would make 24 by the end. It's a heck of a series. So by all means, there are 3 other like 6-hour classes that we have done, covering all of the Crat positions in this series. This is our last 3 is today, and these are it. So they are available on my Twitch, just like you're watching right now. So those are available. They're also broken up into sections, so you don't have to just try to get through that whole 6-hour thing. I mean, if you want to, appreciate it. But again, right, you can pick out which Crat position that you're interested in, and especially for Autocrat, we did 4 hours just on Autocrat, but that is split up between there's just the bid information, there's just the video where you can just do the pre-event, just the event, and just the post-event work. So
There's a lot of
options.
information in each of them. I highly recommend them.
They're deep dives. Deep dives.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, please feel free to watch the previous videos that we've done.
We've tried to keep things lively.
Hey.
All right. So if there's no questions, comments, concerns, I think we can move on to post-event. What do you think?
Finish it up.
So have a group debrief with your staff. I'm still going off of a lot of my notes from Secure Crat, so if you've seen me jiggling a pen and looking down, it's because I'm trying to adjust those notes over.
Also, random. I mean, clipboards are wonderful things. So just pro tip. Very good for organization.
Have one for each of your autocrat offices. Or sorry, each of your Crat offices in general.
Yeah.
They will thank you.
True.
Also, I love the closing ones where you can actually stuff stuff inside of it and it stays dry.
Oh, yeah, those are nice.
The top of the line. So have a group debrief with your staff. This can be as simple as, hey, so how did it go? Right down to getting a formal sit-down meeting, talking, taking notes and minutes, and it's as formal or informal as you want it. This is where your medics are going to give you their notes as to what cuts, scrapes, bumps, bruises that they dealt with over the weekend, and you compile all that together. Compile is a big fancy word for saying put it into a big pile and sort it some way. Put an elastic on the pile with a little piece of paper saying how you sorted it, and then you hand it off to your autocrat, and you're pretty well done. A debrief. Now, I know I said why are we going to the doom and gloom, but a debrief is super important with how you reflect on something after the fact. Like I said, I've seen people have fallen off of cliffs. It's not good, but it's how it was handled afterwards with me as one of the responders that changed how I looked at it. And that debrief can do a world of good for somebody who's seen something rough and change whether or not they quit completely and never help out in an event again because of how rough that was. And it's not necessarily the severity of the injuries. It could be the broad spectrum of them. It could just be the stress that they felt under. But that debrief helps depressurize things. That meeting is good for your medics because your medics are your future medicrats. Without them, you're going to be doing this forever. And it helps develop them as a person. To sit down with them and go, okay, so that was a rough weekend. There's a lot of bumps and ticks and bug bites and scratches. How did everyone feel? And that question might sound silly to you. It might sound simple to you. But to that one person, this is their first event. It means everything and changes their outlook on it. Debrief your people. Ask questions. They might feel that they're wussing out because they don't want to bring it up. Giving them a forum in which to bring it up gives them a chance to vent. Debrief your staff. Good things happen. And not to mention, if one person was like, so I had to deal with one person who was way too squirmy when I was trying to treat their leg, you can discuss that, and then all of your staff walk away with a better understanding of how to deal with that in the future. The right things that were done, the wrong things that were done, and the best way to go about it.
It also helps you as a Crat to know how things went, what didn't go well, where the communication broke down on your end, so that you can perform your job better in the future, right? You can make sure that your staff is in a good situation. If there was something that you didn't plan for, you didn't account for, you didn't even think, like, I don't know, this was a thing that could happen, right? Having that information is just going to make you a better Crat in the future, so, it's good to have that.
To all the medics, this is your opportunity to criticize your boss.
Hey.
Go for it.
Okay.
Politely. But it is true. Like, if they failed to communicate something, you're going to want to inform them of that, because if you work with them again, you want them to communicate that. And if you can articulate that politely, and they don't take it politely, maybe that's a good sign you don't want to work with that medicrat in the future. But if you articulate it politely and they take it politely, that improves your relationship with them over years. So
True.
don't be afraid to say something. And it improves you, it improves them from both sides. It's a very good point. So Metacrat, debrief with Autocrat. They're going to want to know how things went. The good, the bad, the ugly. Turn over your records, turn over your receipts, and turn off the lights on the way out. I guess that's the Cytocrat's job, but
Ward recommendations.
Metaphor
Ward recommendations. Right. Again, you're gonna have intimate knowledge of everything that your team did, right? More so than anyone else. Also, for Metacrat, right? Folks can think that it was like, oh, there was no emergencies at all. They don't deserve anything because they didn't do anything. There may have not been any emergencies because they were preventing emergency situations, right? They could have been keeping so well on track with keeping people hydrated and being in safe situations and doing that there wasn't any emergencies, right? It could have been simply that, like, also they did so much prep work and so much planning and preparing, right? That matters. So, right, again, right, you're going to know all of this. So be sure that, you know, your team's getting recognized for the work that they do. Award recs. Always award rec your teams, because, you know, no one else is going to do it likely, so.
Everything your staff does is all roses, so you don't even have to break down which category it falls into. Like QMs, their staff, they've got 3 different categories for award recommendations. Yours are all roses. Write it up.
True.
Billy Bob,
Bill
this.
Bob.
Joe Bob, that. And let your monarch go from there. Everybody likes to get a thank you.
And thank them. Like, right, again, right, that debriefing meeting can be that point when you're doing that, but yeah, like, make sure they know that they are appreciated, that what they did, that, you know, mattered, and that you care enough that you thank them. Thank your staff.
Yeah. And sometimes that's just showing up at the event with a tray of hot coffees for everybody.
Or hot chocolate. We've discussed this.
Hot chocolate, yes. It goes a long way to greasing the wheels, and a little bit of coffee works great.
Or hot chocolate.
Or hot chocolate. Or cappuccinos, or
whatever the preference is. Sure.
Tea. Bring a hot beverage.
Unless it's like 100 out and it's just like...
Okay. Bring beverages in opposition to the temperature outside. If it's hot out, bring cold beverages. If it's cold out, bring hot beverages. Okay. I think that's about it for the post-event. Agreed?
Okay.
Awesome.
So, again, this is the last chance you got. Jazz hands. Always jazz hands.
Jazz hands, because it's the last one.
Because it's the last one. Hey! Again, if you have any questions, this is the point. If you've thought of any other, you know, things from any of the discussions that we've had today, feel free to go ahead. Again, the Nine Blades Discord or the Twitch chat, either one, totally fine. Also, if you're here, hey, shout out. Let us know that you're here, because thank you. Like, we would like to thank you, and know who all braved the time and made it out and stayed with us this long. Cause, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, good stuff. I want to huge thank you, Dark Lord Darian.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
A lot of work, a lot of hours, over many weeks. Just all the meetings with planning, getting all this done, and having, you know, all the filming time. Oh, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been an amazing ride. And I appreciate it so much. And even though Countess Welland wasn't able to come today, thank you so much, because you were here for the other 3. So many hours of work, just right beside us. All the planning, all of the actual the filming. It's a lot of stuff. So I seriously appreciate it. Seriously. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate you. And I want to thank everyone that has been here to watch them live, and those that have watched it after the fact. This is why we do it, you know? The fact of being able to have this content out there and having folks watching and like hearing back of what was helpful and whatnot, it's appreciated, really. So, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having myself, and I know Faye Welland would also like to say thank you for having us on.
It's been a blast. Long blast. But a heck of a blast. So, I think we've passed that 20-second thing. One less jazz hands, because we're done. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Heck of a series. I have been Admiral Ann Cash. My guest, Dark Lord Darian, and for previous ones, Countess Faye Welland. As always, stay safe, stay happy and healthy, and take care of one another.